And he didn't make it. Hi. Yeah, Ian's a slacker. Yeah, so hi everybody. We decided to go live without Ian, waiting for him to show up. Because he said in 10 minutes I'll and lo and behold, here we are. So welcome everybody to the Cosmere. Will Reads does Cosmere. I always said the Cosmere Reads. That's a different.
You podcast. Did. It's okay. We'll
okay.
claim them. They're not as good as we are, but
I'm having respiratory failure today because of all the smoke.
Yeah, what are you Canadians doing to us?
I know, Canada, stop it.
Trying to smoke us out? Like, I know we haven't been great allies, but
we were here. Yeah. Like literally my eyes are still stinging from like being outside today, but it's crazy. So Ian will be here in just a bit, so I figure we can just jump right in and get through some of these interludes, because I'm sure Ian doesn't want to talk about the first two, but probably won't talk about the last one. But we'll start there and just kind of work through part 4 and part 5 of the Wave Kings all the way to the end. So yeah. So Chris, if you're ready, we'll go jump right into Baxel.
Sure. Let's go.
All right. So Baxel. Baxel and his fellow cousin Emily cousin Av. They're breaking into Oshanu's palace along with a mysterious mistress. It's kind of this weird interlude. With characters that we don't really know.
I was going to say, like, this completely...
Ian wants me to email him the link.
Okay. Well, I'll say it while you're doing that. The interlude just more or less confused me. I was like, who are these new people and why? Like, I have to remember that these books like to expand our universe and add multiple people and then do crazy things with them. And so I'm sitting back and enjoying the ride, but it's like, what's the purpose of the interludes is really my bigger question. Every now and then we get one that actually has what I feel like is purpose, but the rest of them, I'm sure they'll come together eventually.
Yeah.
There's
some actually cool nuggets in these interludes. These ones, not particularly, but some of the other ones we've seen before. Some of those characters have different names, but you've seen those characters before in other books.
Oh.
So you've read enough Cosmere that you've actually seen some of those characters.
So, and I was thinking to myself, like, do I need to go back and just read the interludes together? Kind of like
they don't. Yeah, they don't really. It's not like Mistborn, where like, and sorry if you haven't read Mistborn, but they're like little like snippets you can read individually, and it creates a whole story about Rashik and the Lord ruler and everything like that. And we have Ian. Ian's here. He's just not here. So it's not like that. It jumps around a whole lot and gives us little tidbits. Some of the interludes are better than others.
Is he doing chop and chop in the background?
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing in the background. But yeah, some of them are better than others. So
we gotta stop talking shit now.
Yeah, we're live, by the way. Hey.
Yeah, I saw it like out of the corner of my eye, and I ran out because I wasn't dressed yet.
Oh, cool.
I was gonna give y'all a show, but
we saw it. We saw it in the reflection. That was that little red thing. We saw.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they're talking about visiting the Night Watcher. We're talking about the interlude, the first interlude. We haven't got anywhere.
Okay.
The mistress soon returns with a mallet to destroy the large statue, and she idly mentions trying to produce a shard blade. So that's kind of like the big aspect, that she's trying to make a shard blade.
Yeah, they talk about the old magic, and I'm like, all right, well, this is kind of a glimpse into what was lost. And I wonder, like, it almost seems like we have more shard plate and shard tools in this newer, like in the chapters, than they did in the old world. But maybe I'm reading that wrong.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that was not an answer at all. It was zero commitment. He's like,
I'm interested in hear your theories and what the shard blades are. But I know you gave some, but it's just we'll keep going. So let's jump to interlude number 2, unless you want to talk more about Baxel.
The shard blades are pieces of the. Oh, I don't want to go that far. Well, I'll go that far with the dead god.
Okay. We can hypothesize.
They're called shards, right? So like shard is a piece of something. So,
or it's something that happens when you like think that it's just farting, and then
it's a shark, not a shark.
And so maybe
as painful as they are, kind
of maybe also like the modern day where we're at in the story. The shard blades are nowhere near, and the armor and everything's nowhere near as strong as it used to be, or as powerful as it used to be. The reason there's so much more is because it's been broken down or divvied up or something like that. So there's more, but it's weaker.
Exactly. Thank you, Dana. That is true.
We know. Look, so if you're watching, you could tell he was listening, not really, but looking at his notes, and just when he heard a pause, he went, Sure. Was ready to move on.
So Asher and Grenadid, I like this interlude a little more, so I'll spend a little more time with it because they're studying Flame Sprint, and we talked. Really cool. Yeah, it's really cool, and just kind of the metaphysics of how the Flame Sprint are reacting. And we talked about this, and this reminds me, we talked about this before about how light reacts differently when being observed, and this is exactly the same type thing. Like when Flame Sprint is being measured. It takes a measurement, but it doesn't stay the same size unless it's being measured, and then then
it locks in.
Yeah, which is crazy. Like, is that real? Like, I've been meaning to ask. Like, is that actually? I know you mentioned it, but like, is that a real theory?
There's a real physics experiment with light, and when it's observed, light behaves differently.
Yeah.
Good. Wow. This proof there's a God.
Yeah. Exactly. In measurements. Yeah. And this kind of takes from that aspect. It kind of was like quantum physics. Quantum physics acts a lot like this, like where when you apply a measurement or you apply a variable to something, it behaves in a certain way, but only when that variable is applied. So I want to think that's where Brandon Sanderson is pulling a lot of this from. At least that's what I hope. I know he's into physics and all these kind of weird stuff, so I'm guessing he's kind of doing something along the lines of Sprint act like quantum physics does.
It's very sciencey.
It is, but I enjoyed it. I mean,
so the test, the hypothesis of if I call the correct measurement, the Sprint will freeze in place, and then walking out of the room and then observing that action, that's pretty cool. It almost makes it look like the light Sprint have minds of their own, and they can understand exactly what's going on in this moment. So, sorry, that's pretty dope. That's pretty cool. And then, I mean, just the idea of them running the Ardents running these hypothesis and really trying to better understand the world around them, it's like there's a lot of chaos and everything around them, but they're still making an effort to understand the world, which, just goes to show that learning happens no matter what the circumstance.
Yeah. And this is the quote from it. Before I measure, they dance and vary in size, luminosity, and shape. But whenever I make the notation, they immediately freeze in their current state. Then they will remain that way permanently, so far as I can tell. So it's just really interesting. I just find it fascinating. But yeah.
We can freeze the flames. Maybe we can help the Canadians out.
You could tell
And
because
then
the way
we
it
get
is.
to the the way it is. And then we probably get to the best interlude, of course, with Zeth Sun
yeah. Now this
Shinavar.
What did you think of this one, Ian? I know you love this one.
Death
I
wears
do.
white. It's great because it's double I got you, which is just fantastic. He's going to kill the last person on his list, and
he pulls out
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had to let Alan give us a little backstory because I don't have it in front of me.
I'll say this
listened
much.
A while ago. This part was awesome.
Yeah.
I knew from the minute he went to kill this king, it just seemed too easy. And for him to pull that stone out, I was like, I knew it. But there's part of me that thought this king was going to be so grieved.
Oh wait,
for all the
we're on the wrong one. Sorry.
Dang.
So, this is the one where Zeph kills the king, where he puts the blade through the king's face.
Oh, we skipped.
It's the interlude in between 4 and 5.
Oh, we skipped to interlude. Yeah, we skipped to the wrong interlude.
It's coming. There's another one. But anyway, this is the one
where it's just
the king asks Zeph,
like,
"What are you?" He says, "Death," and he thrusts his blade through the king's face.
Yeah.
This was still a badass fight scene where he's
that's what
guards
this
everywhere.
was. It was all fight scene. It was him like using the power to slam people around. Wasn't this the one where the king thought he had actually like captured him? It's like, I knew you were coming for me.
Yeah.
Type deal. Okay. Yeah.
It's just like, and he throws down, he takes away his shard blade, and he's like, and all the shard bearers are like, "Oh, we got you now." He's like, "No, I'm the weapon. Like, you don't understand. Like, I don't need the shard blade."
Absorbs everything around him, and then just like this is the one where he was searching for purpose in the acts that he was doing and a reason to justify the kill. And the king admitted to knowing that he was next on the list. And then he was like, "Oh, so you threw this party assuming I was coming after you, and you let these other people die? This is all your fault. Their death is on your hands, not mine." So this is where we get to see that internal struggle that Zeth is having about murdering all of these individuals intentionally. And so it was. And I actually thought, and I know we're going to learn soon, that there was a deeper purpose to these killings, but I just couldn't figure it out. And that's where he wants you to believe is they just found the list, but there was a reason behind the killings, and we do learn about that. So
you learn a little bit more about the metaphysics too. I mean, they have something called shard plate. We've known about shard plate, but we learned that he can't lash shard plate. Like the Stormlight doesn't work on shard plate. But he could lash the table underneath the person standing, stay on the table and lash the table up in the air. That works. But can't directly do anything to the shard plate. And they have, I guess, new shard shields too. So a couple new technology that's being developed. Yeah. So just really interesting with Zeth, the Assassin in White. So then we move into the story, and most of this is going to be switching between Dalinar, Adolin, and Kaladin. And towards I don't know if we get any Shallan in the last part? I think it's all just.
It's not Shallan.
At the very, very end we get
That's
Shallan.
The very end.
Yeah.
At the very end, yeah. So, anyways, we start with chapter 52, A Highway to the Sun. And Dalinar and his sons is sitting before the high storm, and he gets another one of his visions. And he comes up on an officer with dark brown eyes, receiving orders of the Radiance. And this is, I think, when he sees the day recurrence. Yes.
Yes.
So he
They were
sees
the first and they were the last. This is kind of the pivotal moment when Dalinar like makes a decision to finally like, all right, my son's right. I need to give up my place as a prince. And I need to pull myself back because he's still having that internal struggle of, am I really seeing something or am I just seeing something? Is this important enough for me to pursue this instead of leading my own group? And I know my son's ready, so why aren't I going ahead and turning the reins over since I don't know if I'm going crazy? And then on top of that, he doesn't know if he can really trust himself. And that's a tough place to be in when you got to lead thousands, tens of thousands of people, like, and then the life of the king himself kind of depends on you. So,
yeah. What do you think about the actual day Requiem, where all the Radiants laid down their shard blades into the stone and turned their back on everybody? I mean, this is
they just
down in history as
they were
the Radiants abandoned them,
coming through in droves and just dumping their armor and stuff.
The only reason I think in certain parts of even U.S. history that our military hasn't done this or hasn't even recently, because it doesn't matter the administration. There's just been a lot of frustration from the older people in the military. Those of us that did Iraq, Afghanistan. Anyways, you don't see that now because a vast majority of the people that do the legwork are like under the age of 30. Right? If we had like a bunch of OGs in the military, I could see people just getting very fucking frustrated and be like, you know what? I mean, you could only like do so much and experience so much and then come back and just see the things that people fight and bicker over and complain about and the politics and the everything. Like, I don't know. When I read this, I was like, yeah, it sounds about right. There's some days where I just want to be like, you know what? I'm done. Y'all fucking figure it out.
Yeah. And Dalinar asked, because the voice that's coming to him, what is this? What is it? And he goes, they were the first and they were also the last. I talk about the people that are running out from the castle to go snatch up all the shard blades. Obviously these are the noble families. This is their origin story. They were just regular people that just
they were like, yo, do you see that? They're giving their shit up.
And they started killing each other left and right.
Exactly.
Like
that's what I was going to get to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The shard blades essentially created this, what we have now with Dalinar and the princes and, killing each other for glory and becoming a light eyes, so it kind of bothered me a little bit. I was like, first off, their first question should have been, well, why are they giving their armor up? This is such powerful tools, such powerful equipment. And where are they going?
Yeah.
Are they just walking away and leaving life? Like, are they going to go back home and work on the farm? Or like, what the heck is going on? So I'd like to know more about this day of recreance. And I'm sure we'll get more explanation in the next book or so. Or maybe not.
Yeah. So he returns to himself after the storm. Dalinar does, and Adolin and him resume their discussion. And Dalinar just wants to, Adolin wishes Dalinar would simply recognize that the visions aren't true, ignore them, but Dalinar refuses to at this point. He says they have to be real at this point. Like, is there any way we can prove this? He's like, oh, maybe we get Navani to go look up some of these old texts and see. It's like, do you remember anything? Let's write down as much as possible. And this is where they come to the idea to try to double check and describe everything that was seen to see if there's any details that can be pulled out that only he would know, that there's no way this is just happenstance.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's that chapter in a nutshell almost. Don't they? This is where they also bring in the aunt, right?
Yeah, Navani.
Start scribing. Yeah, they bring Navani in and she's like, all right, we need more of these so we can, prove or disprove you. Like, that was pretty much her whole thing.
Right. Yep. So then we switch to Kaladin. And the name of this chapter is Dunny, because Dunny gets trampled in a bridge run, and Kaladin starts to beat himself up some more. And that's really, it's just another bridge run that didn't turn out too well. I mean, it turned they did all right, but they lost someone. Anytime Kaladin loses someone, obviously, Dunny wasn't a main character, but any loss for Kaladin, for Kaladin's a tough one. And Tefs keeps on trying to remind Kaladin to keep a pouch of spears infused on his person at all times. Because at this point, Tef knows what's going on, or at least suspects.
Yeah. So, and this is also where Kaladin makes the decision that he's going to save everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he doesn't listen to the great advice, like, don't save her or them, because they don't want to be saved. Don't save them.
Yeah.
And it puts a lot of stress on his other bridgemen, because it's extra work for them, less food that they have to, less supplies in general. So, he's kind of hurting his crew, but at the same time, like, he's trying to be resourceful, and he's also trying to save as many lives as possible. So I have a hard time, like, being upset with him for this decision, but at the same time, understanding what the rest of his crew is going through and how they reacted. And so, he doesn't want to be, like, dishonorable to what he believed in, and he still has the memory of his father. And I say memory, hopefully his father's still alive. I don't think we got confirmation that he's dead, but he's got the thought of his father and what his father worked to do as a surgeon, and that's just essentially saving lives. So he's like, well, I need to take on that same mentality.
Sure.
So,
the next chapter is Gibbeltish, and this is the chapter where Elhokar hosts a feast, and Dalinar pretty much calls out Sadeas to go ahead and give an update, thinking that Sadeas is going to blame him for everything. And where Dalinar is completely blind to everything, Sadeas is playing chess while Dalinar is sitting over there playing checkers.
Oh my goodness!
Because he thinks that he's like, oh yeah, he's gonna give himself up. It's not being. And so he's like,
Dalinar is an unlikely suspect.
And he announces to the military. And, I mean, Dalinar's ready for him to name him, and he's like,
Dalinar had his hands on his sword, ready to go to war. He brought all of his people in, like, he was set. He was like, all I need for you to do is say the word, and I got this, bro. Like, he was gonna show him what the Blackthorn was really all about.
Yeah.
And part of me was like, this isn't the way Sadeas works. There's a part of me that was like, he is more sly and manipulative than this, because I compared him to
Plotting.
Like Littlefinger in my mind. Like, I was like, no,
but Littlefinger isn't going to actually fight. At least Sadeas will fight. But the mentality and strategy, I feel you on that.
And I was like, this isn't his style. Like, it's not gonna. And then when it didn't happen, I was like, oh, so now Dalinar looks dumb,
right?
And
but Dalinar tries
to face.
Yeah, but Dalinar then tries to turn it around. He's like, well, hey, if you're really truly on my side, why don't we form teams together and work, better as a team? And Sadeas like, I think that would be a great idea.
Bet you he did. Bet you he did.
Oh yeah.
Like Play-Doh in my hands.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about the? I mean, we talked a little bit about this. I mean, do you think this was a good move for Sadeas? I mean, being his manipulative ways. I mean, obviously, it got Dalinar right to the point that he wanted him to. Like,
I don't think Sadeas knew how well this is going to work for him until he figured out how well this is going to work for him.
Yeah.
I think like he put himself into that camp of being in cahoots with Dalinar one way or the other, simply by clearing Dalinar's name.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he really wanted to, he could have pinned all of this on Dalinar and called it a day.
Yeah.
Now all the evidence pointed in that direction, and everybody was already probably thinking it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd been too easy.
Yeah.
The one person that really matters, and we find out later is a complete and total jerk, And I like the answer to that. I love the answer to that.
Yep.
Absolutely loved it.
That's the one part where I called Alan.
Yeah.
It's like, this is awesome.
Yeah. So so then the next chapter we get to Kaladin again. And Kaladin gets to witness the first joint assault. And the fight goes really quickly. And Bridge 4 does their work. No one dies, but they're sitting down at the Chasms right afterwards, returning from the run. And they find a light-eyed officer with an emerald brome, really expensive, which is worth 200 days of Bridgeman's pay, so a ton. And they're talking about maybe trying to keep it, and they're like, "There's no way we can keep this because they'd search us." And but they're trying to figure out ways to do this to try to hide things.
I loved this portion of the chapter.
And then they're like, "How about a bow and arrow?"
Yeah.
They're all talking about different ways. They're like, "What if we stick it up here? What if we swallow it? What if we do?" They're like, why do you think they watch you at the latrine? Like they're making sure you don't
they're on
anything. Like they know what the deal is. Like these are trained warriors. Like they know what the deal is. And plus they want them for themselves. If you sneak it out and they can dig it out your poo, then they get to keep it for themselves.
And we learned that Rock is a amazing archer, and I
want to know Rock's real story. Like this man is a warrior.
Oh, and arrow, very simple. But he's not, though. He's not a warrior. He could be. He just wasn't born in the right order.
Yeah. So he's a cook.
It's so interesting.
He's trained.
It's a very interesting culture.
The definition of warrior in his culture and in their culture is two different things. He knows how to fight and he's good at it. He's just not allowed to do it. There's the difference. The
Horneater Peaks.
Is it beneath him to fight, or would it be more of an honor to fight? Like, is it a caste among the siblings? Like, one's more important, or they just have roles and that's what they do?
I think it's more they just have roles. Whoever's born. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't. Yeah, because I was just checking.
I
didn't get the vibe that he thought. Yeah, he didn't really think it was beneath him or above him. It's just
you got Kaladin like, why don't we just teach somebody how to use the bow, and then we'll use the bow to sneak the money out. But if we miss and we mess up, we're really in trouble. But hey, that's the chance we have to take. Rock's like, all right, you stupid
airsick lowlanders,
give it here. He's like, you gotta make sure you know the distance and the wind and this and that. And they're like, I thought you didn't know how to use a bow.
Yeah.
And he says, he's like, I can do this thing with bow, but I will not do a battle.
He's like, I'm not shooting people, so this is fine.
So there you go.
I would never use a bow in a
cooks
battle.
are more important because they are more necessary than soldiers.
True.
So that's why they're actually higher in their.
You need cooks in all times of life.
You
don't need warriors. So they say.
Yeah. So we get some bow skills. Pretty sweet with the bow skills. And then we switch back to Dalinar and Sadeas attacking another plateau together again. It's from Dalinar's point of view. Dalinar tries to lay out his new strategy he's going to use, as far as having them rush and then him come behind with siege machines and how, they'll be able to overwhelm the Parshendi and really beat them down fast. And, Sadeas is all for it. Somewhat. He's for the strategy. He's not for that storming book, as the chapter title is, that Dalinar keeps on quoting. He keeps on quoting this book and, talking about the way you should live. And he says, no one follows those codes anymore. It's such a stupid book anyway. He says that your ideals will get you killed one day, Dalinar.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
Those ideals would one day almost get him killed, like tomorrow. But anyway, like I do appreciate Dalinar for sticking to his guns and saving Sadeas in this, because this would have been a great opportunity for him to capitalize and potentially take over the remainder of Sadeas's army. Like, he could have allowed him to die. He could have claimed his shard plate and given it to his son. And he could have told the king, like, he teamed up with me. This is working very well. Like, even though he died, we won. Let me keep this group and let me keep it running
Right.
You know, in honor
Right.
of you. Like, I'm not out to get you. So let me do this thing. But he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he single-handedly like adopted the Blackthorn full, and he at first he was
Beast
like
mode.
having his like little sickness about going into battle, and all of a sudden he sees his friend in such a dire need, and like he got over it and he just got out there and he slaughtered, and at the end he looked back and he saw all the death that had occurred, and he got like sick again because he was like, was this me?
Right.
There are days where I just wish I was born in an era where, well, then again, I probably wouldn't be holding a sword, but
yeah.
Anyway,
sure. And then we get to one of my favorite chapters, which if we had to do a live, I mean, there's a couple of chapters that are really good. They're not a couple. There's a lot of really good chapters in this section, but this one's one of my favorites. I know you guys were probably cheering because you got a prediction right. But this is it starts out with Maps dying from an arrow wound to the chest, and Kaladin's agonizing over the loss, as he always does. And after the bridge run, he insists on tending to Tef's wounded arm. And Tef keeps on prodding Kaladin about the odd experiences he's been doing lately. And Kaladin says, it's nothing. And as he's doing this, Kaladin breathes in Stormlight, and Tef notices it and points it out. He's like, the spheres are done. And Kaladin's like, what do you mean? And he's like, you just drew those in. And then Lopin notices too. He's like, oh, Gaucho.
Linus says Tef moves to punch him and reacting instinctively. Kaladin breathes in the Stormlight spheres. Like, here's my thing.
Yeah. And Lopin realizes that
not assume this already. Like, every dun sphere that was near him just oddly goes blank, and nobody in Bridge 4 dies.
He got them thinking that what's his name was paying him cracked spheres, like paying him with crappy spheres that were cracked.
Yeah. But then he's getting everybody else's, and he's still having that same issue.
Yeah.
But
and then Lopin also notices that Kaladin's medical pack is stuck to the side of the barrel. And this freaks Kaladin out, so he like kind of runs off, and talks to Syl, and it's like, Syl, what's going on? Syl finally admits that she's not a Windsprint. She's like, I don't know what I am, but I'm not a Windsprint. But I don't
specialty
know.
sprint.
Yeah, and she says I don't remember much, but she knows that she just binds things. That's what she does.
Yes. And then he runs off further and finds.
Yep, and runs off further and finds Wit.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Yeah, this is the awesome part because he's
chilling.
He just goes off on his own, and Charles, finds a guy playing a flute, and men don't play flutes, so this is kind of odd to begin with. And he's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I go by many names. Most people just call me Hoyd."
Yeah. It's not a regular flute, though.
No, it's not.
Well, I mean, I guess kind of it is, but when you play it and tell a story and you're near a fire and the smoke starts dancing and it's like a Gandalf type moment. It's very cool.
It's very cool.
I mean, when the flute's played, it gives a gift.
Yeah. Maybe we learn a little bit more about Hoyd. So Hoyd's one of the guys in Kaladin's crew is like the apprentice of Hoyd.
Yep. Which I thought was really cool.
He was like, "Yeah, tell him I'll come back eventually." Just
he'll be all right.
He'll be fine.
Keep his flute, but tell him that he's now a full world bring. What was the word? Not world bringer. I'm thinking
world hopper.
No. He tells him he's a full. What's his
world
title?
Singer.
World singer. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, world singer. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. Well, hey, I don't think he ever delivered that message, but
yeah.
If he did, we didn't hear it.
Yeah. But. So that's a good point, Dana. Kaladin never heard of anyone using Stormlight, so why would he realize what he's doing?
Oh, yeah, it's true. Yeah, this isn't the same as like Shard Bearers.
Yeah, it's not. Not at all.
This is
old. The old magic.
Old school.
Anyway.
Now, is that passed down through heritage, or is the key. Like what is it? Okay. I've been wondering that, like, what maybe his mom had these abilities. And
he blames Syl for it. Says it's your fault. You're doing this.
Well, it is Syl's fault. Like, but why it's still
But she says you're
attracted
doing something to
him.
her too. Like she's like, but you're doing something to me too. We're doing something to each
so
other. So
it's vice versa. Like it's happening.
Well,
So
something.
I'm saying, like, why
Sometimes you
is
just be
she
sitting near each
special?
other and you just kind of feel it.
It happens.
You know,
Yeah.
it just
and there's something I can't remember exactly because I don't have the book in front of me. But there was something that go back to Hoyd. He asked him about like how long ago or something like that. He's like, a really long time, too long for me to even talk about.
Yeah.
But don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We're gonna tell a story now. And he tells his story about the Wander Sail and Dithril who traveled to this kingdom where everyone believed in this king who actually wasn't even really there, and just
and then all the people started killing each other because they were responsible for each other's death because they were too afraid to approach the king.
Right.
That's crazy.
Once they took responsibility for all the deaths, that it wasn't the king that was giving the orders, but it came from within. They couldn't handle the truths. And
you can't handle the truth.
Yeah. And Kaladin asks about it afterwards. He's just like, well, what's the meaning of the story? And he's like, oh, a good storyteller is not supposed to tell you what the meaning is. I just tell the story, and then you apply your own meaning to the story. That makes a good story. Which is a weird way of answering it, but I just love that aspect of it because everybody, and it's true to some degree, like you have a story that has multiple meanings to it, but it really just applies to your own situation, and what you take out of it is what's important, not what the good storyteller doesn't tell you how to think. It just gives you a really good story that makes you think, but it doesn't tell you what to think. Just makes you.
It's what always bugs me about characters like this, and this is why I thought of Gandalf. Like they're part of the story, but not really. They kind of help the people that the story's actually about. They kind of help them along here and there, but it's like they get off on not being very direct. Like there's so many times where they could have. Sure. I mean, the freaking eagles could have flown the hobbits to Mordor.
Yep.
Why didn't the eagles fly them to Mordor? But like maybe
because they would have been corrupted by the ring.
Sure. Whatever. I think it has more to do with like, when you have certain powers, and especially if you live like much longer than other beings out there, maybe early on in your career, you try to like really control things and be like, I know more than people, but eventually that's got to get boring. And so like you want to, see what little squirt does, so you just give them a little tidbit of info or a little hint or clue and just watch and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's true, then they're not really invested in a certain outcome.
Right.
They're just kind of.
What do you think Hoyd's game is? What do you think Hoyd's trying to do?
Entertain himself.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. All about the entertainment.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah. Hoyd gives him the flute at the very end and tells him to take care of Sigzil. And Kaladin returns to his group. And Tef, says when he was a youth, he admits that he belonged to a secret sect that awaited the returns of the Knights Radiant. And Kaladin, and I think it was Lip was like, "Is he Knights Radiant?" I was like, "No, not yet." And he asked Tef how he knows so much about asked Tef how he knows so much about his powers. And Kaladin decides maybe he should find out some more. But
finally,
Tef's part of this secret sect.
Oh yeah. Well, is he really a part? His parents were a part.
His parents are a part.
And he just kind of grew up in it.
Says, do you all remember Hoyd from the Mistborn trilogy? So in Era 1, he doesn't show up much. He's just mentioned.
Yeah, he was an old man flipping a coin.
Era 2, which Ian's just reading. I mean, he's, I guess, Wayne's coachman?
Yeah, I'm distractedly listening to.
Yeah. So he's Wayne's coachman.
I need to finish the last book.
Elantris, he is a beggar. In Warbreaker, he is the storyteller that they bring in to tell
yes, he's really cool.
Siri.
Yep.
And they bring him.
He keeps giving a little bit more and a little bit more, and then they're all curious as to how he knows so much. He's like, I just do.
Mm-hmm.
But what is his angle?
Yeah,
that is really the question. Is Hoyd just?
You're breaking up a bit, Chris.
I said, is Hoyd just Sanderson?
Yeah, just Sanderson.
Yeah, he nudges the story along.
People ask,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that might just be it. He might just want to implant himself in the book. So he's like, I'll just write this special character, and that kind of nudges things in the right direction.
Yeah, I just read Tress in the Emerald Sea, which we'll read eventually. And that's told completely from Hoyt's point of view. So,
and I really do feel like
that'd be cool to get to.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So anyway, so after this whole scene, the next chapter is the journey, and it starts with Adolin. He's drinking in a wine shop in the market, accompanied by his date, Dallin.
Yeah.
And a couple other fellow Light Eyes. And the debate on why Sadeas hasn't moved. Am I back?
Yeah, you're the one that's breaking up.
I glitched a bit. We have a storms rolling through, so sorry if my internet gets a little funky. It's storms do that.
I've got to get some water. Don't stop. I'll be right back.
Okay,
that's what she said.
So so yeah, they're trying to figure out why Dalinar or why Sadeas hasn't moved against Dalinar, and whether Dalinar should step down.
And they're after Adolin. They're like, this is all your idea. And now you yourself feel like, nah, this isn't the best thing. I think Adolin's kind of got a greater feel for his father after watching him just straight up beast mode and be the Blackthorn. And then his dad's actually letting him in. I think that's, the crux of all of these storylines and really life in general. It's a great life lesson. If we learn to just better communicate with each other and really let each other in and let each other know what's going on in life, then there is opportunity for actual understanding. And once you have that actual understanding of another person, then you kind of see their way of thinking. And Adolin's like, you know what? I got better things to do. Like, I need to really think about what my father wants to do, but at the same time, like, I also need to live that life. If I'm going to be about it, if I'm going to support him, then I got to do what's best. So, yeah.
Sure.
I agree with all of that. Chris, you nailed it.
Yeah. And then Dalinar is reading The Way of Kings to Sadeas, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
And Sadeas is like, I might actually, or he's not reading it, but he's having it read, right? Because men don't read in the society.
Yeah. Well, he's reciting passages that he's memorized about Noadon going to Eurythero, and to Sadeas, and just about and Sadeas thinks it's just dumb. So it's like, it's boring, it's sentimental, and insults Dalinar about it. Dalinar doesn't get angry at all. He's just like, okay. And Ellikar's there as well, and is somewhat more interested, but not really, and in jokes because Sadeas puts down Dalinar, like, oh, maybe Ellikar says, Sadeas, you could be my new wit. Since Hoyt seemed to just vanish, and since the other it's gone. Yeah, he's off doing his own thing. And Adolin comes back. And this is also when Adolin is dueling Resi during the scene.
Yeah, and he just completely whips him.
Yeah.
But this is also the linchpin moment where Dalinar kind of gives in, goes against his better judgment and the Way of Kings, and he decides that he'll use the bridge crews as an experiment to move his army.
Right.
But in a very particular way, like after certain things have been secured, so his bridge crews won't be at risk.
Yes, but still, he demeaned in this. It almost is like he has to justify it by saying, like, well, since they're already there and we're giving them protection, then it's okay. But is it really okay?
Being that I've read the end of this book, I will say it was necessary.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there you go. So they moved to chapter 59 in honor, which sounds like it's gonna be a really good chapter, but no, it's the honor of being able to do all the Chasm duty. So, this is when the new I guess commander comes in. And it's like, yeah, you guys are doing such a good job and everything like that. You know, we decided just to go ahead and get rid of the old ways, and we're just going to put you guys permanently on Chasm duty. So you'll be still doing all your bridge runs, but then every waking moment, you'll just be doing Chasm duty as well.
It's pretty crappy, but like the reason they give, I kind of thought this early on. Why not send, if not the exact same, like just alternate between two groups for Chasm duty? Because then you know where you've gone before, where you found stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
If you're rotating everybody through, like you're only doing it like once a week, like you don't know what areas have been scavenged.
Yeah, I think it more has to do with morale than anything else, because it's the worst. I mean, because you're like almost certain death down there. Eventually.
Do they care about morale though? Is that on their checklist?
Okay, maybe they're worried about rising up.
Yeah, or people getting too clever or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But they decide, yeah, Bridge 4 can just do it. Full-time bridge duty during the day and Chasm duty every night.
Yeah.
Basically no time to sleep. And Kaladin realizes it's just a death sentence to his men. That, you know, doing this, they're going to just die eventually.
And that's where they make the plan to decide to leave, right?
Yeah, and this is where they all get down, they gather, and they start doing spear practice. And they start, you know, practicing their
Isn't this where Kaladin like falls into really cool?
Yeah, for the second time. I mean, this is also where he realized Tef used to be a military person.
Yeah, he tricks Tef. He's all right, Tef, take him through the yes, Commander, I got you. And he's like, I knew you would understand what I'm saying.
Yep.
Shucks. You figured me out.
Yeah. But they're still trying to get through and try to figure out how they're gonna escape. Kaladin has Tef train them, and he goes off with Lopin to gather Parshindi bones and doesn't tell him, you know, why he's doing this. But needs to put them all in a sack so no one else realizes what he's doing.
Yeah.
And goes and gathers a bunch of Parshindi. I
already knew what he was doing at that point.
I would say from the reader standpoint, they don't say per se, but
no,
you could tell he was plotting.
What he did with it later, I didn't expect that to happen. I thought he was gonna just use them in general, but I thought they were gonna use it as part of the escape mechanism. So
yeah, and he ends up, you know, building a little ladder to tie it to the bottom of a bridge, and says, you know, our next run, Lopin, you'll need to stay back and get this, you know, our next bridge run. Yeah. The next chapter, back to Dalinar. So this is when Dalinar decides he's not going to advocate to Adolin.
He essentially talks himself out of it.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, I got to be a man of my word, and I've made these decisions, and I've gone after this thing. I need to see it through. And he also starts to kind of question the voices a lot more. Like, am I really hearing the right thing, or is this a distraction?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the fact that he questions his own thoughts here, because they're not his.
Yeah. Yeah. And they also bring Navani in because Navani has a new Fabrial, which shows him how it does it. It cures pain. It's kind of cool. And he says, you know, it's really cool that you're discovering all these new things, but they're no closer to finding out how to make shard blades or shard plate. Yeah, and also high storms on the way. It's another reason why they brought Navani in, because they want her to scribe everything that Dalinar's saying during his mumblings.
Yeah.
During the high storm. And then he goes right into it. So he goes into his vision. He's with Noadon, a younger version of Noadon, who actually wrote the Wave Kings. And the desolations just ended. He finds out 90% of Noadon's people have been killed during it. Like, and he says, you can't even fathom that. Like, can you imagine 90% dead? Like, just utter destruction. Yeah, annihilated. Good word. Obliterated. So, and Noadon's contemplating giving up his throne. Because he kind of, obviously he's not doing good in leadership because, 90% of the people are dead. And Dalinar, who's in the part of Noadon's advisor, and tells him a little bit about his books and stuff like that, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" Dalinar realizes it must have been something that Noadon wrote later in life, but some of the phrases that he uses, Noadon's like, "Yeah, those are my phrases." Yeah, so you're repeating back, like a parrot, some of the things I say. And when he comes back, he discovers that in fact, the visions are true because Navani asks him, what were you saying? And it was actually part of the Dawn chant, which they have not as dead language and they haven't been able to translate it. Yeah. And he said, you said something directly from that. Like, we have no idea what it means. What did you say? And he says, well, I said this. And they're like, holy crap. These are real.
Yeah. This was the epiphany moment. Like, what you're doing is we need more of it. We need to learn.
Yeah.
So this is where I first had this like aha moment of like, maybe the interludes are parts of other people's storm visions. Maybe they're, you know what I mean? Like maybe other people are seeing this happening, and that's kind of led further down that path a little bit more into this chapter. But that was kind of part of a thought, or maybe it's just showing the connection between the storm dreams and what's happening around the world versus what needs to happen. So, because some of it's prophetic, but
yeah, and that the whole next chapter is just that alone time with Navani, where they make kissy face as well, and they actually, but also, Dalinar's really disturbed by the visions actually being real, and they're trying to figure out what more can we pull out of this. And Navani even admits that something's wrong in Roshar. And it's bigger than just this little war they're fighting right now. So something's going on.
It's like, do you think I would really be here if I didn't have to be here? Like, I'm here because shit's going down and we're losing our hold. And you're right. Like, this is the first straight up validation that Dalinar's received. And now he's kind of backtracking on some of his thoughts because he's now questioning, like, if this stuff is real, where is it coming from? Right. Why is it happening to me? And can I trust it?
Yeah.
So great intuition.
Yeah. Then we get another awesome bridge run. Cal and Bridgefor go on their next bridge run, and they use the Parshendi armor and shield to decorate their bridge. And it gets the Parshendi pissed.
I thought it was just on
not
Cal
only
the
that,
first time.
Kaladin like wears
maybe it was, Kaladin was wearing it.
The first time, the first time it was just Kaladin wearing it, and he ran out ahead.
Ran out ahead to draw attention of the Parshendi archers.
And he used his Stormlight powers to like, phew, phew, like he looks like the Flash. Like he made those noises too. Phew, phew.
Yeah.
Yep, I heard him. When I was reading it, I heard him.
And I think Sanderson wrote that in there.
It was.
A little armor.
Yeah. And after the battle's almost, the bridge part is over, they sit down to rest and realize they've been cut off, and a Parshendi force is flanking them, coming right towards them, and they're like, crap, we're dead now. And then out of nowhere, Dalinar comes and just
not only
takes everybody out.
He salutes Bridge 4.
Yeah,
that was the moment. I was like,
yes,
they're finally connected in some way. Now, Lord, do they connect in a much greater way in a few chapters? But I was like, now we're finally seeing the two kind of merge a little bit.
Yeah. And
have you guys ever seen Kingdom of Heaven?
Yes.
All right. So like the first fight scene, really, when he gets on the road with his dad, and then that group comes up and is like, we got to take him. He's a murderer. He's under arrest, blah, blah, blah. And then they go to fight. Well, Orlando Bloom at this point is not a very good fighter. So these other guys are just awesome, dicing people up, horseback, this, that, and the other. And he's kind of lost in the sauce. And then one of the guys rides by, and Orlando Bloom turns around like, oh, shit. But it was one of his guys that just kind of taps him on the head with the sword. Anyways, that's what went in my head when Dalinar went here, like diced everybody up. I was just waiting for him to be like, ping, just like, you know, pat Cal on the back or something, and you know, head off. So
you did good, son.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
At least Cal has seen a Shardbearer fight up close before.
He's killed one.
It's been a while, right? but it's been a while. So like, still, how a Shardbearer fights compared to everything else they do in battle. I mean, it's from going level 1 to level 50, right? So it's still got to be a little awe-inspiring. Yeah.
In this next scene, our next chapter, Kaladin tells Layden about the carapace and how it makes the personality, and says, "This is a great idea. You know, we'll just have a bunch of you fools wear this and run out in front." Kaladin's like, "Okay, well, this is my certain death again, but sure." You know, and also observes Moash is very skilled with the spear as well, and wants to know what Moash's purpose is, and he replies with he wants vengeance. He declines to say on who, but that's
I'm gonna kill somebody.
Kill somebody. Yeah, and they work more on their plan to escape. Tef asks Kaladin to teach the bridgemen, but he declines, saying that he's that he would become too eager and impatient. But wants Tef to keep on doing it. So, Yep.
He's afraid of the love of the spear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it that he get too eager and impatient? I thought it was more like it's a slippery slope thing.
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah. And he admits that he failed in the past. And that's what he says, I failed men in the past, and doesn't want to get to him.
Yeah, that's a part of it too.
Yeah. Next we get back to Dalinar and Navani. They see each other in secret. Dalinar tells Navani that he is interested in courting her. Yeah. But yeah, and they talk about their past, and she admits that he was too brutish, and that's why she picked her his brother and blah blah blah. But she always had a thing for him, and
makes me happy
kind of things. Yeah.
I mean, the sad part is that had he put any effort into her,
right,
and kind of challenged his brother even in the slightest, the story would have been different.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, if you got feelings for this man, you should have been forthcoming with those feelings.
Yeah.
I have an old friend where that I always had, inkling that there was interest, but, it just wasn't the right time for her.
Yep.
And now I'm married, so you missed out. Like, that's just the answer.
Yep.
And it's crazy to think that, people just can't at least admit to the fact, like, this is how I feel, or this is what I think, to somebody that they're really close with. Because, I mean, what is it going to do if it ruins the relationship that you currently have that much because you admit to having a deeper relationship or deeper feelings towards the relationship, then it wasn't a good one to begin with. So
there you go. Yep. And during this chapter as well, that's when they go on another bridge run, and everyone in Bridge 4 is wearing the carapace armor, and they actually get cheered on by the other bridges because, like, they're like, "Oh, you're gonna take all the arrows. We have a chance of surviving." They look in admiration at Bridge 4 and actually cheer them on as they go by. So it's.
Now, this is that moment in the book where I thought one of a couple things was going to happen. I thought maybe after Dalinar saved them, he would ask to have control of Bridge 4.
Yeah.
This is also where I thought maybe that Bridge 4 would be set up just because they're doing the most.
Yeah.
And if they were to happen to be set up, this would be a good way of maybe getting rid of Dalinar as well. And I didn't think like literally betraying or anything. I just thought maybe they'd set Bridge 4 up for failure, set Dalinar up for failure, and ruin his reputation. So that was my thought at this point.
Yeah. And this is also afterwards. Adolin is shocked to learn he was wrong about his father, and glad he was. That he can fully trust Dalinar. And they're going on another bridge run. They've come up with a plan. They're going to try to go for the tower, which is like the biggest part of the Shattered Plains. It's the hardest thing to try to do, and they have this whole plan where they're just going to stage up like 15,000 troops, basically all they can muster. And once they got their Parshendi trap, get a flooded, and with one fell swoop, take out their entire army and be done with it. And Satis agrees to this plan.
Have they gone to this tower before?
Yeah,
I would assume so, but not. But
I think weren't they talking like they tried to, but by the time they get
they
there,
get beat out every time.
Yeah, they get beat out every time. That's right.
Yeah. So
this
is
their first attempt, but
this was the pivotal moment that was supposed to, in Dalinar's mind, change the scene of battle for good. Like if we can pull this off, beat them there, and or at least claim the gem heart, which are typically the bigger ones. Then we can also beat a larger part of their army out and we'll have the upper hand. That was all the thought that went into this. And then if we win this battle, then we can push the other princes into joining us.
Right. Yep. And then we get to the tower. So Dalinar and Sadeas watch as roughly 10,000 Parshendi line up. They are all trying to remove a gem heart really fast, as quick as possible. And Sadeas suggests they attack at the same time. And Dalinar knows many of the bridgemen will be killed if they do that, but he holds to the code, saying that, like, no, we're not going to do anything I wouldn't do myself. So, Dalinar will follow once Sadeas' army in the bridgehead is cleared. And then we switch to Kaladin, and Kaladin and the 4 other decoys are drawing all the Parshendi arrows. Of course, Kaladin's drawn the most of them. Until all the surviving bridges are placed and run across. Kaladin then goes to help Teft and Scar, who are hit by arrows, and starts operating on Teft. But there's enough soldiers in the air to protect him this time. But he's smart this time. He sets the lookouts.
Yeah, because the last time they almost got smashed.
Yep.
So then Dalinar orders his crew to set their bridges, and they start to cross, and leads all his men across with Adolin. Some of the Parshendi, start targeting him. But Dalinar feels
the summary here is everything's going to plan.
Yes, everything is
all fallen into place.
Dalinar starts to adopt the Blackthorn. Like he starts to feel the joy of the battle. Like finally he's in it.
Oh, yeah.
He sees the success.
And with his son, I think he likes dicing it up with his son.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the way it's meant to be. And even though he's having a little bit of doubt, because he's realizing like some of these are like women Parshendi, and maybe they're not so different.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Like, he's having visions, like he's having problems at the same time. He's enjoying the thrill of the fight. And then like all of a sudden, as he's winning, a whole nother group of Parshendi pop up out of nowhere.
And he wonders, like, why hasn't Sadeas scouts warned us about this? They should have been here to warn us. And he looks back and sees all of Sadeas' forces retreating and realizes he's surrounded.
Like Sadeas was like, bye.
Have fun. I'm out.
This was pretty effed up. Yeah, but not too surprising. Like you said, Chris, like you always got the feeling Sadeas was plotting.
Oh yeah.
And especially when he finally went along with, him and Dalinar partnering up, I was like, it's not going to end well. Yeah.
And takes all the bridges with him, making them trapped on the plateau surrounded by Parshendi.
I'm actually surprised that like the very second Cal realized what was going on, like he didn't immediately run over there. I mean, I guess it was kind of quick,
I mean, we got to get to that. And the fact is Cal had to make a decision.
Right.
Like he had the opportunity to do what he has not yet been able to do. Save his men.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. So
you'd have to get them on board.
Yeah. The next chapter starts with Kaladin finishing up, fixing up Scar. And, once he's able to walk normally, kind of heals up a little bit. And that's when Kaladin notices that Sadeas is retreating and realizing he's leaving Dalinar behind. And Kaladin sees that Sadeas is completely unharmed. Most of his troops are just fine. Still, like, no bloodstains or anything. They're
they're just trotting back like, oh,
yeah,
we're done here.
Yeah. And, hears him say that he overhears Sadeas murmur, Dalinar's honor would someday get him killed. Told him that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we switch to Dalinar, and they're fighting for their lives. Now that they've been betrayed, and just wave after wave of Parshendi. Adolin yells at Dalinar like, "We've been betrayed," and Dalinar's like, "Yeah, I know."
That's obvious.
Yeah.
Like, duh, no shit. Like,
but Adolin refuses to blame his father for this. Says, you're trying your best to try to,
Yeah, they have a bonding moment.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they have to rest a little bit. So like they kind of dip behind one of their lines, and they're talking this out.
Right.
And it's interesting, like totally surrounded. When those two aren't fighting, the soldiers are the soldiers can't really hold the line that well by themselves.
Right.
And they're just having this heart to heart behind the line. Dad, I love you. Love you too, son.
Well, they're about to. I mean, they think they're about to die. I mean, they're and he gives his.
At this point, they know they're about to die.
Yeah.
Right.
And Dalinar gives him a motivating speech to saying, "I know we're probably not making it out of this. Trying to give some kind of muster to his troops and saying, but we're going to die with glory and honor intact. So let's go." And Dalinar silently regrets that he will leave Renarin alone to inherit, surrounded by enemies, and no way to say goodbye.
Yeah, that was something that I really hadn't given much thought to until he thought it. I was like, man, that kid, he's been focused so much on the other son. Not, mind you, he's been developing them both, but in his mind, like the son that is currently with him, Adolin, was going to be the one to take on everything. So that other son was kind of left to enjoy life a little bit more.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh no, I have to do what?
Yeah. So then we flash back the next chapter, which is called Words, because this is when Kaladin says the words. As Sadeas forces are withdrawing, Bridge 4 starts to lag behind because they're low in numbers, having wounded. And they're unable to keep up with the army. And he fences, I guess, what's his name? Leighton, that, hey, we're going to, it's not like we can go anywhere at this point. So we're going to rest a little bit, go on without us. We'll catch up. He's like, you're lost. So, I don't care. Argues for like 2 seconds and thinks about it. It's like, all right, whatever. I don't care. It's not like you can do anything by yourself. So the army,
what could you possibly do?
Yeah. And so they all sit around. They're now like, this is our chance. They've left. We can escape now. We can just take off and run across the shattered plain and be free. And then Kaladin starts thinking, but I still have men wounded back at camp that are part of our crew.
Right.
I can't leave them.
That very well. Super smart.
Yeah. And he starts to think about it, and he's torn by it. He's like, all right, how about this?
I don't think he says it to manipulate them, though.
Yeah. He says, you guys all escape. I'm staying behind. I'm going to go back on myself, and I'll get the rest of everybody out later. And they're like, we're not leaving you. Like, it's basically what it says. And
where you go, we go.
Yeah. And Syl's not happy at all. Like, I mean, she actually appears as a full-size, regular-sized woman, and is just staring back at the battle with an expression of horror. And Kaladin looks back too. And he just sits there. He's like, there's dark eyes and soldiers in there too. And they're all surrounded. And he starts thinking about it. He's like, we have to get back.
Yeah.
And they're all like,
and he thinks back to his father's words, what was it? The light eyes don't care about life. So I must. So we must.
Yep.
Yeah.
just because
And it's not like
assholes.
it's not like Cal has developed his gift or whatever it is enough to know that he could come out of this alive. So even they've got to know they're making a decision that
a
they
lone
may not be
bridge
coming back.
charging.
Yeah,
They're city
like
ducks. Like,
I mean, the guys
Yeah.
following Cal at this point are probably like, look, we've seen some shit. Like we'll just follow him no matter what. He'll be fine. He's gonna lead us to victory, sort of thing. But Cal, he doesn't have that
Yeah.
confidence yet.
No, I mean, and all the guys are under the impression like we were gonna die one way or the other. So at least now we have some sense of honor returned to us as we try to save this man that has saved us. The pride that I had when I listened to this, I was just like, I would be part
Let's
of Bridge
go.
Force. Let's go. Like, I'll go with you. Like, I'm here. I'm in it. Like, let's keep going. Could not be pulled away from my headphones.
Oh yeah.
Once I heard that.
Yep. And it flashes back to Dalinar. His shard plate's leaking everywhere because they have small cracks everywhere. They're continuing to fight. Things are just bad. I mean, people are dying all around them, and it's not looking good for them either. It's just a matter of time at this point. And they look back, and Adeline actually sees it first and sees a lone bridge crew. And like, is this going to trap? Like, why would one bridge crew come back? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Dalinar's like, doesn't matter if it's a trap. I'm like
we got to make a run for it.
No other choice.
Let's go for it. And it switches back to Kaladin now, and the Parshendi see the bridge 4 approaching, and prepare to launch an entire volley at the bridge.
Oh, yeah, they're like, those are the crazy ones wearing our people's bones. Like,
yep,
great,
kill them.
Yeah, and Kaladin flares, I guess, his stormlight and pulls the entire volley to him. Into his shield, and like it stops them full run.
Right.
Like,
doesn't know what he's doing.
Doesn't know what he's doing.
God, did you see that? He is one of them. Like, we don't know what they're actually saying. They're saying words that we don't
they say
understand.
no. That's what they start saying, and they flee. They run away.
Right, they're freaking out.
He's the one.
Yes, we did have the side carry, so it wasn't all Kaladin. Like,
yes, it was side carry.
It was the bridge crew too, using their new tactic of side carry, and they did a phenomenal job executing without prompting. Like, they were one.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
but Kaladin,
it's when that next volley comes from a direction they weren't expecting. They didn't have time to switch to the other side. That's when he leapt out and flared.
Right. Yeah.
And interesting, it's like a Grogu early on. Remember, like the first season, every time Grogu would use the Force, he would pass out. He's just exhausted.
Yeah.
He'd throw a ball and then go, I'm taking a nap. So Cal, didn't use a little bit. He used everything, used it all up at once. And then he was Dunsky.
Yeah. And basically collapsed. And he ends up kind of going into a flashback as he's passed out of when Tien dies.
Oh, yeah. That was effed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You just use what you have, lad.
Yeah.
That was your answer? He would have died that day.
Yeah.
You put my brother on the front line, not knowing what he was doing. He was only there to carry messages. And you dare sacrifice him? Oh, me and you, we're going to have at it. I'm going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
If y'all don't know, I'm very protective of my little brother.
Yeah. But he's used domestic cannon fodder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a shield, a human shield.
And
Pawns.
Yep. And after that, Cal snaps back to the present, and Sill's right there, and he forces himself to his feet. And Sill's just like, you have to say the words. He's like, I don't know the words. And he's like, you have to say the words. Say the words. And he starts to make a run. And the bridge crew's just shocked at this point, because Cal was like dead for the most part, like dead to the world. Yeah. And he gets up, grabs his spear, starts running, like just down. And as he jumps across, he starts to pull all of the stormlight from all the gemstones.
Yes,
that part I like.
I was hoping for,
dude.
Yeah.
Like, in my mind,
I
saw like literal light just like flowing like fingertips up into him, and then just like bursting out of him as he like whipped his staff and just It was so
Did-
cool.
Did
Yeah.
we talk about this before? Was that part of our predictions at all?
I don't know if it was or not.
I don't think so. I do know once we kind of realized that he could do it, once it was confirmed, that's when I started thinking, because we already knew that the Parshindi would wear them like what in their beards or
yeah.
necklaces, whatever. I was like, okay, like this is it. I didn't think it would be fighting them. I thought there'd be an opportunity to like maybe he got captured or whatever,
Right.
and then was able to, draw on it. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. But
In my
anyways.
mind, I thought maybe the Parshindi could draw on it, and we just didn't know.
Well, so they so we already know
Chasms and-
they're aware of somebody like Kaladin being able to exist, right? Because
Yes.
when they see
Yeah.
what he does, they freak out.
Mhm.
So they probably have like something in their
Prophecies or-
history,
yeah.
prophecies, whatever. Well, not just prophecy, but
I
like
mean,
maybe
common
they all
day,
wear
have a
they,
big guy
maybe
that
they
they're
all
fighting.
wear it like in honor of the
Mhm.
people that can do it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
maybe they can draw on it even though they can't.
Yeah, and as he's jumping across the chasm, a voice in his head urges him, the words, it's Syl's voice. And even though he had never learned these words, he whispers, protect those that cannot protect themselves. And there's a loud boom, and Kaladin explodes in a
Boom
energy
shakalaka.
light. And just takes out everyone. I mean, just like,
Annihilates.
like super, what is it in Dragon Ball Z? He goes Super Saiyan.
And yes. And I mean, so if you're Shin, what are you feeling right now? Is that his name? Like the
Zeth?
Zeth.
Yeah.
Like, what are you feeling right now?
Oh, Zeth's not there. But what do you mean?
I mean, I'm sorry. Like, what is the guy, the Parshini that's on his crew?
Oh, Shin. Yeah, Shin. Sorry.
Yeah.
They
If
call
you're
him
Shin,
Shin. Yeah.
like, what do you? How do
Yeah.
you feel at this moment where you're seeing this huge like display of power against your people, essentially?
Is he going on the bridge runs?
Yeah,
He's has water. Yeah, in the back.
Water guy. Yeah.
Water carry. Yeah, carry water.
yeah.
That's
Like,
true.
I
We
would
never
be
really,
able-
and we never really got a good reaction from him watching
No.
Yeah.
Cal do what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we get him like looking, like staring blankly,
And just,
like in
and
disbelief. But
disbelief,
that's
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, he gets in there kicking ass, and then Adeline sees his option, and Dalinar sees salvation, and they all just start going in.
Right. Yep. So Adeline starts to cut down Bashani lines towards where the bridge is. The maneuver is reckless, but his troops are trained, so they make a dash for freedom. Meanwhile, Teft and the rest of the bridge crew, are just like jaws dropped. Like they're not doing anything as Kaladin's by himself, and then like snap to like, crap, go help him, like
Right.
and and they jump over and start trying to, get in their formations as well.
Which they are well trained. So
yeah.
once they snap to, they do their business.
Right. And get in defensive formations to defend the bridge. And Dalinar's trying to fight his way towards the bridgeman as well when a shard bearer shows up. Like, worst time ever. And Dalinar even says it like, now you show up? Now? Like
he's looking at his armor and stuff. He's like, I got like nothing left. I'm on 3%.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have shown up had he not had an actual way to retreat. I think maybe this is his way of allowing another person to try to claim the shard equipment.
Yeah.
And then they saw that Dalinar was about to make a run for it. So then he's like, well, we're not going to let that happen. So let me get out here and plug this hole.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be.
And he's surprised by how good the Parshindi shard bearers actually is. Like, he figured that he'd just be kind of wild and reckless, and he's actually pretty good.
Really good.
They're really good. And they kind of go into this duel, and it's not
because we know Dalinar is really good.
Yeah.
And even though his armor's kind of wore out, so things are starting to get heavy. He's a fantastic fighter, and he's given him the sauce.
Yeah.
And it's not doing anything. Like,
yeah. And
so
and we switch back to Kaladin, Bridge 4, and they're holding the bridgehead. And Kaladin at this point starts to realize how the Barshinidi are fighting is a lot more honorable than anything that they do. It starts to actually respect them for their battle ethics.
In the middle of the battle.
In the middle of the battle, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, that's neat.
Yeah.
He's like, I love them more than my own people.
Yeah. Yeah. The Kholin army finally breaks through the Barshinidi lines, comes down to the chasm, and this is also where Kaladin's, tries to get reports from the guys, and they're like, who's in charge? Like, they're all dead. I don't know. Okay, you're in charge. All right, get these people down. It's like, but I'm not an officer. You are now. I promoted you. He's like, who are you? It doesn't matter. You're in charge.
Listen to what I tell you and do as I say, boy. Take over.
All right, another Kingdom of Heaven reference at the end when they have to defend Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. And they're like, how are you going to defend the city? You don't have any knights. And Orlando Bloom turns and takes the dude's assistant, squire, whatever he is, and knights him, and then knights everybody there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
a good point.
The vibe here.
I don't know if Shen's actually there at this point. He might be back at camp.
I think they actually said that because of this one, since everybody's wearing it, they were leaving him back
at camp. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so Kaladin finally fights his way up to Adolin and says, you got to go, and he refuses to go, and he's like, listen, you're stupid, like, get your men and get out of here. And
like, does not talk to him the way he should talk to him.
Yeah.
What's crazy though is he's so right, and his analysis of everything is so right, and he's saying it with such confidence. Like, even Adolin, he does argue with him a little bit, but in his mind he's like, he's right. I've got to, But
he doesn't want to abandon his father. So
Colin's like, I got this. You got
right. But that's the part that got me. Doesn't want to abandon his father, and Cal just reassures him, don't worry, I got this. And Adolin believed him. That's what, there's something special.
If you see a man with a stick do what he did, right. I believe him. I believe him too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still think the way everything's happening so fast. I mean, I don't know how much Adolin saw what Cal can do.
He's trying to hide the fact that he's drawn Stormlight because he's not drawn enough to glow. He's trying to hide that from everybody else. Yeah,
I think it's just the leadership, the presence, the
you're right.
The wisdom, everything was just so impressive. Right. It's almost like Adolin got Taviran here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Switch back to Dalinar. Dalinar's taking multiple hits to his helmet. It finally explodes. And rather than the Barshinidi finishing him off, where he definitely could have right here, he leans down and says, it is you. I found you at last. And as all this is happening, right before the Barshinidi finishes him off, there's a disturbance in the Barshinidi ranks. And Dalinar just sees a glowing spearman approaching, kind of as he's in and out of consciousness. And
Kaladin, these are all the signs of a concussion.
Yeah.
Barshinidi talking, people glowing.
Yeah. And Kaladin, finds a hole in the Shardbearer's armor and doesn't kill him, but definitely strikes him. And all the Barshinidi start to chant this Nasu Kadai chant again, and they start backing away and not attacking him at all. They give him room at that point. They're like, let him have room. And he finds Dalinar's horse, puts Dalinar on it, and they get away.
Right off into the sunset.
Well, Dalinar gets up and he wants to finish the Shardbearer, but Kaladin's like,
are you stupid?
No, you're going to get on your mother effing horse right now.
It's your honor right now to retreat immediately and leave. And leave. Go. And Dalinar, calls for the retreat. He says, your men will die if you stay and keep on fighting. You need to call your troops and call them.
They're not going to leave if you don't leave.
Right.
Yeah,
you owe it to your men right now to announce retreat. Go.
Now my favorite chapter comes.
Justice. Yeah. So they go across, and as they're leaving, also the Barshinidi Shardbearer salutes Dalinar.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's some honor there.
Respect. Ali G, respect, yo.
Yes, respect.
Yeah. He finds Kaladin and vows to protect him from Sadeas, and that he will join his army. And Kaladin's like, sure you will.
Yeah. Now, given everything that's happened, Callan has good reason to not believe.
Oh, sure.
But I think it's really cool that Delanar's like, oh no, you're rolling with me now. You're good. Don't worry about anything. I got you.
Yeah. So we get to Justice, the final chapter of Section 4, Part 4. So it starts with Navani back at camp, and Sadius has just come back to the staging area. Navani comes running down and is like, why aren't you back with Dalinar? And Sadius is like, that's so sad. We couldn't do anything. And Renard's there as well.
Die myself.
Yeah, I saw him die myself.
That was the part.
There's just so much more than we thought was going to be there, and they overwhelmed Dalinar's forces, and we had to retreat. There's nothing we could have done. And Navani's like, it's not true. Like, there's no way you're telling the truth, and she's in complete denial. And she just says, fine. She asks for scribes to bring over, ink, and she just draws this glyph right in front of Sadius. It's the glyph of justice, and then lights on fire. It's a burn glyph, kind of like an offering.
Yeah,
and leaves a scorch mark. And she stares back at Sadius, like, and right as this is happening,
her little nephew comes and he's like, "Thank you, Auntie. I love you.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm gonna do. This is horrible."
Yeah, and right as like the flames are dying out, one of Sadius' messengers comes running and says, "There's some people coming up from the Shattered Plains."
It's like, yeah, you need to come take a look at this. You really need to come take a look at this.
Pale, like
Sadius is like, what did you just say? Like, I brought all my people back. Like, the thoughts that were going through his head, he should have got rid of Bridge for a long time ago. I'm glad that he didn't.
Yep.
But he made a mistake, and now he's paying for
it. Yeah. So Dalinar rides to the head of his remaining force, which is next to nothing. I mean, he brought 10,000. I think it's only 2,000 left.
Yeah, so seething with anger.
It's and trying to contemplate how he's going to handle this confrontation. Because this might be all-out war. I mean, it's justifiable for it to be all-out war. I mean, it's
but I do love how he still puts Alethkar first.
Yeah, puts the kingdom first.
That right there is a true sign of a great general and a good man. Like, revenge would be easy enough. He could have literally formed his shard
justification
blade
for it. Yeah,
I would have formed my shard blade into his chest. Like, I would have been like, "It's okay, buddy," and I would have tapped that chest. And then, it would have come out of his back. Like, it would have been vicious. I would have made sure everybody saw it. I would have grabbed his head. I would have ripped it off with my bare hands. Well, maybe,
but his goal is still to unite everybody.
Yeah, he's a better man than me. I'm sorry. I can't say that now, but in that moment, what would I have done? I would have ripped his head off.
Yeah, I'd have done something.
I would have chopped it, karate chop. It would have gone like flying.
Yep.
So as he returns to the war camp or approaches the war camp, Dalinar dismisses all the wounded and all the bridgemen to their camps and tells Kaladin's bridgemen to go with them. And says, don't worry. I promise. I had a promise. I will buy your freedom. And Kaladin's like, I refuse to leave right now. I'm going to stay by your side. I'm going to accompany you.
Yeah.
And like,
smart. There's a good chance if he's not right there by his side, like,
right,
he could be a dead man and his whole crew. Like,
right.
Yeah, they need to stick together until this gets worked out.
Yeah, and he gets there and sees his son Renar and Navani there and says working out what she's not expecting. He gives his son a hug and also Navani and
cuffs around her booty, gives her a big kiss.
Yeah,
a little pinch and a smack.
My boo.
Yeah. And he says, I see the world a little different now, I think is what his quote is. And now unwilling to let line men control his life. And he releases Navani and goes to confront Sadius and very publicly feigns civility. Like, rather than be mad, he plays the more higher ground here, I guess. And Sadius says, you apologize immediately. He says, overestimated the threat, I guess. And I was like, oh yeah, it was tough. I understand. Yeah, sure. Playing into it.
You did what you had to do.
You did what you had to do. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then, but as standing close, he, so not to be overheard, he definitely down there turns his head and says, "Why?" Just whispers, "Why?"
yeah. Why?
And Sadius, says, "I took an oath to protect Elokar, and you're going insane. You're becoming weak. You need to be cut out. That's why."
He's
Like,
like, I just want you to know. Well, you brought the Blackthorn back now. Just want
Yeah.
you to know that. Want you to
yeah,
realize.
it's just, in the end, I just wanted you gone, Downer. That's it. Like, nothing personal. Just, yeah.
Yeah.
If Sadius truly believes that, or is telling the truth that this is because of the oath to protect it's the king, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
kingdom.
Then could you consider what he did to Dalinar honorable?
In Sadius's mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in his mind.
Mine, yeah.
Yeah, in his mind, yeah.
In
Because it'd be worse if he like just outright killed him one-on-one. That would
Right.
cause problems.
yeah.
But if Dalinar was lost in battle,
he gave him an honorable way to die. Like, dying in battle is the best way a warrior can die.
Yeah.
His
Right.
name would go down in infamy for like facing
They would sing
10,000
songs
horde.
about him.
Exactly.
Right.
So he did give him a way to go that would be remembered honorably.
Mm-hmm.
And Sadius would take heat for it. Like, he fought on in the midst of all of this, and you did not. Like, shame on you.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it didn't turn out that way. I'm so happy it didn't. I wanted
Yeah.
that man to literally rip his head off. Like, don't be so nice. Do something evil.
Yeah.
Do something mean.
And Calvin's watching all this happen from a distance, and the private conversation ends, and Sadius states, aloud that this alliance is unfeasible. We need to go back to doing our own thing. And Downer says, "That's fine. We can't, but the bridgemen are now mine."
Mm-hmm.
And Sadius just turns around and laughs and says, "I'm not going to let them go. No." He says, "I'll give you 60 brooms, emerald brooms for each member, which member is like 200 days of pay per member."
Yeah.
And Sadius says, "No, they're not for sale. I don't care if it would be 1,000 brooms per head. I'm not giving up, the bridgemen. They're mine. You can you leave my property here and you can leave." And Cowden's like, "This is it. Like, I'm
Knew it was going to happen. Yep.
this is what happens." And Cowden's thinking, Downers, there's no way he's going to be able to fulfill his promise. And just then gasps in surprise because Cowden turns and sees Downer summon his shard blade. And, everyone's gasping. Is he going to cut him down? Is that what's going on? And he turns it down and slams it right down the middle of the justice glyph, and says, "Fine. How about this shard blade?" And said, he's like,
For all the bridgemen.
For all the bridgemen. And says, like,
not just Bridge 4.
It's worth
all of them.
All of them. And Sad is like, entire kingdoms are worth that. Like, that's like you're full. And he's like, "Do you accept?" And he's like, "Yeah, I guess, sure." And he reaches over and grabs it. He's like, "I accept." He's like, "You're full, Dalinar. You're one of the 10 fools." And says something like that. And Downer walks away, and Counter walks up to him and says, "Ask him why." And Downer,
this was good.
One of the best quotes from this book, and says, "How much is a man's life worth?" And Downer says, "I don't know. They sells for this much or whatever." And he's like, No, not what they sell you for. What do you believe a man's? It's like, it's priceless. And he says, "Okay, well, so is a shard blade. So I just traded one priceless thing for 2,000 priceless things."
Mm-hmm. Seems like a good deal.
That's a good deal to me.
Yeah, I was in one of my emotional drive homes as I was listening to this, and that definitely had me tear up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted them all to hug it out.
Yeah, Oathbringer is the name of the sword. That Downer. Yeah. Oathbringer. Yeah. Jada says, "But what about the 7,000 other soldiers who he consigned to death?"
Who, his
soldiers?
Are
you talking about his soldiers? What 7,000 soldiers are you? I don't know. I don't know what that's referring to. Maybe Zool.
Oh, I get it. She's saying when you asked whether or not it was honorable for Sadeas to send Dalinar to his death.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
also the 7,000
I
that were with
gotcha.
him. I mean, they're an
They don't-
extension of their commander.
remember what Sadeas thinks about his own bridgemen. Like,
Yeah.
if you're at a level beneath him, everybody's expendable.
Yeah.
And it's
Now-
justifiable if it serves your purpose.
Now,
Yeah.
do I believe it was an honorable death? No. In his mind, it was an honorable way to send him out. And in a
That was my
warrior's
question.
mind, there's no more honorable way than to leave in the midst of battle. But this wasn't battle. This is treachery.
Mm-hmm.
That had Sadeas stayed and then he died, that's honorable. But then with this is just a treacherous way of trapping a man and committing him to death.
Yep. Yeah. So after all this, we switch to Dalinar. After all this, going to go pay Elhokar a visit. His young nephew, the king.
Not only
And
did he pay him a visit, he gave him a big hug.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is Alan's favorite part of the book.
My favorite part too. I was so,
I love this part.
I think I sent you guys both a message like, yes, finally, he's just killed a lesson.
Yeah, he walks in and he's like, "Oh, Uncle, you survived!" And Downer's like walks right up to him, like punches him, like throws him, like smacks him around, and Downer's like, Elhokar's just completely taken back,
Help!
cracks his shard plate, starts
People,
screaming for
me.
help, and Downer's like, "You realize the men are mine, right? No one's coming for
Your
you.
guards are my
My
men."
guard. Our men.
Like, I want you
No
to
one's coming
realize
for us."
if I wanted you, this already had happened.
And Elhokar keeps on trying to summon his blade, and every time he does, he smacks his hand away right as it summons. It's like, no, you're not
You
going to
are
do that.
worthless.
You're worthless. And he cracks his, like I said, the breastplate and puts down like just a little more pressure, and I can crush your chest right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to. Just to let you know, I could kill you at any time. If I wanted to kill you, I would. I could.
Mm-hmm.
If
No
I want
one's
to kill
here
you
to-
tomorrow,
I can.
kill you. I can get to you.
But I'm on your side. Why do you not understand this? Like through your head. Like,
He's like, I realize that you're the one that cut the damn strap.
Strap,
Caused
yeah,
all
I
this
realized.
issue. And that's what I
Yeah.
was getting to earlier. Had Sadeas tried to out Dalinar, it would have probably ruined him.
mhm.
Mm,
Because Elhokar already knew
He cut his own
who
strap.
cut the strap because he cut his own strap. He even swapped out the saddles because he didn't want to ruin his favorite
Yep.
saddle.
Right.
Like, if you're gonna lie, you gotta sell the lie. There's got to be so much truth in it that it doesn't look like a lie,
Right.
you know. And switching out the saddle, that was the mistake he made.
Yeah.
yep.
And he pretty much lays out his demands. He says, like, this is how it's going to be. You're going to name me High Prince of War tomorrow. I'm going to be in charge of everything. We'll deal with it. And Elhokar's reluctant. Like, listen, this is. There's no negotiation here.
Yeah, I'm telling you what you're gonna do. Also, I'm clapping them cheeks.
Yeah.
Me
By
and
the
your
way, I'm
mama, we
effing your
got
mom.
this thing
Because
going
that's
on.
the first thing Elhokar says. Like, I
You
heard this
say it's
rumor about
puppy
you and my
love.
mother. And like, as he walks out, he's like, by the way, I'm going to F your mom.
Me and your
Better get used to
mama
that.
Do that.
got this thing going on. You say it's puppy love.
Mhm.
We know it's full grown.
Yeah. Good times. All right. So we get to the final section, which is really short. Anything from all this before we get to the final?
The
section
final
No.
Oh, I love this. On my computer, it actually has like weather. And the bottom, it just says 61 degrees, smoke.
Are they saying that you should smoke or
No, it's just saying
I know.
That's the gift from above. The Canadians
So
are giving
bad.
us a lot of
It's
smoke.
so bad here. Like you can't even
Well,
walk outside with your eyes start burning.
My brother's in New York City, and he's been sending pictures the last couple days, and it's
It was
horrible.
bad this morning here. Like I was at the shipyard and you couldn't see the James River Bridge because it was so it looked like fog. It was all
Wow.
snow. Yeah, it was bad. And eyes were stinging. It was just anyway. So let's move on to part 5, the silence above. So we get the little conclusion of Shallan here, where she goes and is lamenting about her actions and being kicked out, and she tries to make a last ditch effort, and goes up to Yasna and is like, I figured it out. Your soulcaster's a fake too. Like, I was trying to figure this out, but like I swapped out one that didn't work. That was a broken one. But I realized the one I stole is broken too. You never use a soulcaster. You're doing something else. And she's like, what are you getting at? And he's like,
didn't we have this sneaking suspicion already?
Yeah. And Yasna's just like, it's like, yeah. So like when you ate the bread, you soulcast it to something else when you get it to your mouth. Like you can soulcast without a soulcaster. Like, and she's like, okay, interesting. You're still kicked out. I don't understand what it's like, but I can do stuff too. And she's like, what do you mean? It's like, I see these things. And when I do this, and then she flips and actually goes into, I guess, this other realm or whatever. And
the danger zone,
and immediately starts sinking in. Yasna goes and saves her and reprimands her. It's like, do not go there.
Don't ever do that. Yeah.
Don't ever do that. And she's like, okay, you're important too. You're back in the game.
we should totally hang out.
These other things are sprint as well. So just know, and I'm intrigued. You've got my full attention. So let's see what we can do here.
Yeah. And and when she tries to do it, it's interesting because she hears the sprints talking. It's like, you have to tell us the truth. And she says something like silly, like, no, a bigger truth. He goes, I killed my father. And then immediately like
I knew that was the case. From the very beginning, I thought this is really like.
Does the place get named here? I think someone says it. Shadesmar, right?
Yeah, Shadesmar.
Yeah, Shadesmar. Okay, yeah, they do name it. And
she talked kind of like how her dad was a little bit grimy. And I thought maybe he had done some things to her that he shouldn't have done. I could have misread that, but it led to his death.
Yeah, so Yasna's like, okay, you can be back part of the team, and Shallan apologizes, but she's like, we need to be able to share secrets with each other. And then Yasna's like, okay, that makes sense. You know who the Voidbringers are, right? And she's like, wait, it's the Parshendi.
Yeah.
That made 100% sense to me. As soon as she said it, I was like, oh.
It's like, well, she says,
makes
like
perfect sense.
When you destroy something, you don't get rid of it if you can use it. And she starts thinking through it. She's like, we made them slaves. We didn't get rid of them. We didn't, they're all among us. Like
they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
And they have a hive mentality. That was it. They have a hive mentality. So they can communicate to each other. They are sleeper agents, and they are just waiting to be released. And it's been happening for so long that the normal populace has forgotten about it.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
Execute
they should
order
all
66.
come with a warning.
Among Us. Emergency meeting. So then we switch to Zeth, and this is the part where Zeth going to kill his last man on the list. Taravangian, who we've met before, who's met with Shallan, and is this older king. And he goes to kill him, and right before he pulls out a stone, he's like, no, who do you think wrote the list? I just wanted to put my name last to make sure you've completed it all before you get to me.
Wait, who is this?
Taravangian. He was the king that was visiting Yasna, and they were having dinner with them earlier in the book.
Yeah, he runs the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out why he's running the hospital.
Is he the grandfather of the little girl that was trapped? Am I getting my kings mixed up?
No, this was the king that came and visited Shallan. It's the same king that Shallan went to draw the picture of.
Yeah, but the same king that earlier had his daughter, his granddaughter. Yes,
same king, the kindly old king that visited the sick people in the hospital.
I really need to pay better attention to.
Yeah, same person. So he's the one who actually hired Zeth to kill everybody else.
Shady.
And you figure out why he's been also.
He's trying to put together a it's not a prophecy. It's like a vision of the past.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out exactly what's
Some-
going on in the world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So apparently,
Dude,
every time people die, well, not
I
every
thought
time,
he
but,
was such a good guy.
Yeah, he's the kindly old man.
but now here's the thing: don't get to judging too much. The info that he's getting might be crucially valuable. So, I guess
Didn't
bad guy
she
because
draw him with a picture of him over? The drawing of him
had tons of sprint around, and she
sprint
fumbled
Yeah.
up real
around
fast.
him.
Yeah,
But didn't she also have like a dream or a vision of him like being killed or being like surrounded by death? Or
maybe. I know surrounded by sprint, definitely the cryptic, like
yeah,
weird drawings. Yeah,
Okay, I need to go back and look at that now. I
yeah.
will later.
And he adds Dalinar Kholin to the list for Zeth.
Yeah, that hurt my
dun, dun,
nerve.
dun.
Mm-hmm.
That
So
just
we have this
means he's gonna run into Cal.
Yeah.
This whole secret side of his castle or whatever that has an entrance to a hospital where they're selectively killing people to record these little visions. But then he also has like gathered, maybe unbeknownst to him, people who can actually perform these magical feats without having soul casters. He's got 3 in one area.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're all going, their death rattles were the sprint. And so now we know why the death rattles were surrounding him, because he's surrounded by death because he's killing people. And they must love him because he's purposely killing people.
But
Nah,
doesn't he also kill the people that are pretty much on their way to die anyways?
Yeah, but still,
But still
He tries to at least.
That's a really slippery slope there, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, there are people, everybody's about to die at some point in their life. There are a few people in this world I'd love to get rid of just to save myself.
Yeah.
I should admit that out loud. Anyway, here's my thing. Like, he's got them there, and now they're all headed to the same spot. They're all going to the Shattered Plains.
Mm-hmm.
Does he know about the others? That's my next question.
What do you mean the others?
Like, does he know about Shallan? Does he know about
Kaladin?
Well, I know he didn't know about Kaladin, or maybe he does. Like, this guy has like made his way around the world, like got the stone, like he did. He was in a whole nother spot when he got the stone and gave the order, and then circled back around. And this whole time he has had what's her name sitting there, Salon, in his studies, and it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
I think I need to go back and forget this part.
Yeah. The Sprint, Shallan, Saul, or something else. Okay.
Okay.
Oh. But yeah. So we go to Kaladin as well. I mean, anything more from this? I know you want to dwell on this.
No, we're good. I know my mind's blown. I'm just
we got more books to read. So me, Raffo. So we go back to Kaladin, and he's waiting at Dalinar's war camp, staging ground, in the staging ground, as requested by Dalinar himself. And he's with Syl, and he's wondering whether he can trust Dalinar. And Syl seems to be like, yeah, he's honorable, like you should. And Kaladin feels really conflicted about everything that happened. Like he's like, yeah, I mean, it's a light eyes though, and they've always burned me. Like
They're all bad.
They're all bad.
Mm-hmm.
And he wonders again whether he can truly protect by killing, and whether 3 lives lost by his bridge crew are worth 1,000 soldiers of light eyes that they're saved. Was it worth my 3 men that died in the process of trying to save a couple thousand light eyes? Yeah, and it's tough. And Downer comes and joins them, and they have this discussion. It's like, all right, well, you're going to join my team, but you're not going to run bridges anymore. None of you guys are. In fact, promoting you as high as I can, not being a light eyes, and you're going to be
without it being very awkward.
Yeah, and you're going to be the king's personal guard. And they're like, what? It's like, yeah, I've seen how you fight. You guys are good enough for it. You're better than most soldiers I've seen. So I'm not denying that. And Calvin makes his own terms. He's just like, okay, I can do that, but this is what I need. You know, I need you to make sure that
I answer to no man.
Yeah. He's like, we can get around that, and basically like I'll answer to you only, and that's it.
Well, and your son.
And the king, obviously. I think
the king. I thought he said his son, but
and his son, yeah, king too. And that the bridgeman can't go on actual battle for a while he trains him up and everything like that. That he has to stay back, and Dalinar's like, done. We can do that.
Have a chance to get him ready.
And then Dalinar, as a token as well, gives him actually one of his cloak. His cloak.
That's
just
cool.
you're part of my guard now. You need to dress the part.
One of us. That's what I heard.
And just like that, he'd been promoted.
Yeah.
He essentially got what he was looking for this whole time, which is an opportunity to become, almost a light eyes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then after that, Kaladin returns back to the Bridgeford barracks. The men are doing their nightly tradition of eating rock stew. And, they're all so happy to see him. Like, Kaladin, you did it. Like, you freed us, and they're all happy. And they're talking to him. And they want to see, like, do the power thing again. Do it again. Do it again.
Do that cool trick.
Yeah. And they're like, and then I can't remember who it was. They're like, I wonder if we can learn how to do it. It's like, I don't know. I don't even know how I do it. Like, it was like, well, maybe we should start experimenting. And Rock's like, I like this thing. We throw him off ledge, little ledge. I like.
Yeah, we'll start small.
We'll start small. We'll throw you off ledge and see if you fly.
See what your limits are.
I was like, oh, Rock, that's a great idea. He's like, I'm only joking, or am I?
Yeah. And he relaxes and, finally seeing that he has saved people. He has, saved all these people. So,
yeah.
And we get to Ghost Blood. So we get to learn about the Ghost Bloods. It's a little quick chapter. So Shallan finishes reading Yasa's notes about the Parshmen being Vordbringers. And, they're looking at the ramifications of all this and talking about this. And she also discussed Ghost Bloods, the secret organization that are also seeking answers about Ghost Bloods. And she notices the symbols. And she's like, yeah, Capsule had that symbol. And so does my dad's man. I think my dad might have been part of this organization too. And I
wonder if Tesh has a symbol.
Yeah.
Teft, excuse me.
Teft?
Did we read about Teft maybe having a cool tattoo?
He did mention his parents having one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we don't know. He's holding tight to his backstory.
Mm-hmm.
That's because he's part of this crew.
Mm-hmm.
By birth. Yeah. He may not be by choice.
Yeah.
But by birthright, he's part of the crew.
Thanks, Zul, for bringing it up. Yeah, Zigzal's the one who wanted to experiment with Kaladin.
Yeah.
The world singer.
Hoyd's
boy.
It would make sense. He's trying to get the same power Hoyd has. So.
Mm-hmm.
Poke some of the stick. Do something cool.
And then the last chapter before the epilogue, another high store comes. Dalinar has another vision. And the voice just says, unite them. And Dalinar's like, you sent me that. You told me to trust Sadeas. It didn't work out. And then the voice just keeps on talking. He's like, are you listening to me? Wait, is this like just visions? Or we were not communicating the entire time? And it's very ambiguous. Like, because sometimes it seems like
it's like a pre-recorded message.
Right. And Dalinar's like, huh, okay. I have to unite the people still. So he resides still saying that, and he comes back to and says, we need to rebuild the Knights Radiant. That unity will be the key in facing the true desolation. And he asks, who he is. And the voice says, well, I'm God, the Almighty. Who do you think I am?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm dead, being killed by Odium.
It's like I am what was God, but now I am dead. I left you this way of getting the note and to understand yourself a little bit better. But otherwise, you're on your own, kid. Have fun.
Yeah. And then we have the very final epilogue, which is just Wit having a conversation with some of the guardsmen outside the colony camp. What is the most valuable talent a man has? Is it the house he builds? Is it everything else? No, but if someone invents something and then someone finds far away, invents the same thing, the second person gets no credit at all, even if he invented it completely separately.
Right.
So obviously, it's not the
About
thing
being first.
I mean, and in those times, even creating something, making something better doesn't count.
Yeah. So he finishes as like, timeliness is what men value most. And that town has arrived too late.
Mm-hmm.
And then right as he says that, the doors burst open and a person half death like comes through and collapses down. And he says basically he's one of the heralds. Come back. And we end. Yeah.
Who that herald is?
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, one of the heralds.
It's Moraine.
Where'd he come from? Yeah, that's where Moraine ended up.
That's right. And there was an end note too, above the silence of the 9 storms, illuminate, because it talks about the I guess the poem is the thoughts of Yoshiner and the silent gatherers and the Ketek. Tetek was a Herdazian poem that you can read both ways. Above silence, the illuminating storms, dying storms illuminate the silence above.
Nice.
Yep. And end of the book, The Way of Kings. One of my favorite books ever written. That I've ever read.
Well, I can see why. It is very well put together. It keeps you guessing throughout the entire, and it's just fully engaging. So yeah. I'm excited for the next one.
Think back to when you started the book and the 10 heralds were all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go back and reread. It's in the prologue.
It's literally just the prologue. After that, they split up.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything we went through tonight, pretty fantastic. But like, I won't say I grazed through the rest of it and just focused on the fight scenes, but that's kind of how it was.
Mm-hmm.
When Cal decided and his bridge crew decided to turn back, lay the bridge down, defend it, and Cal took charge and just all of that, just phenomenal. Like when I think about the end of this book, that's all I think about. And it's been a couple weeks since I finished this. So tonight I'm listening to Chris go deep on all these other things. And I'm like, oh shit, that's right. That happened too. Oh yeah, that happened too. But like, yeah. Just kind of obsessed with that fight scene there.
Yeah. It's such well
Cal coming into his own, and
it's so well written. All of it. I mean, the throwing down the shard blade to pay for all the soldiers. I mean, that was when I first read that. It was one of the most moving scenes that I've ever read. Like, where it's just like, man, like just think of the weight of that. Like, it's just, I can't compare it to even modern day. Like what that would even intone. Like, it's just, that's
huge.
It's huge. Yeah. And it goes back to the whole thing. One of the main themes of this book is honor, and honor's dead is one of the first chapters. And how everyone portrays everyone, and how there's no such thing as honor anymore, and the resurgence of honor through Dalinar and Kaladin too. It's just it's great. So who's your favorite character for the whole book?
Oh, that's a horrible question.
I know. I mean, Kaladin's like the obvious choice, but that's what a lot of people point to. But you got Syl, you got Rock. Love Rock. Love.
I mean, you have Dalinar.
You can pick multiple people actually. If that's fine with me, because there's so many good characters.
Yeah, it's hard not to want Dalinar, especially to end here.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Of the whole book?
Like Syl. You
can do this section too, I guess. That'll make it easier.
But I'm going to go with Syl. Syl's my favorite character.
Syl's great.
Because she's opened up the world of magic to him in a way that he had never experienced it before. And now that it's being explained and he's kind of linked with her, she's growing. She's learning more. She's going to be the one to kind of help push him through what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I can't choose.
Yeah. Wit. Hoyd.
Yeah.
please.
That's I wanted to throw that out there. I'll go Wit
Yeah, Hoyd. Hoyd's great. I love
and
Hoyd.
Cal. Cal's great. They're all
Cal's
great.
fantastic. Yeah,
I think I'm mostly torn between Cal and Dalinar.
you know, it's interesting because like in the Cosmere read, since you guys have read First Era Mistborn, you know, we can talk a little bit about that as well. Sorry for anybody. If you want to click off now, you can. When we were doing it the other day, Alondo, I think, was talking about how great Brandon Sanderson writes the anxiety and that Vin feels when she's going to the first ball and things like that. And he's like, he just writes these mental and it's like so well. He writes it all so well. And like, and someone in chat's like, wait to get Stormlight Archives and he starts writing about depression and Cal. He writes it perfectly.
But he doesn't go in crazy detail. He does it very quickly.
He invokes your own understanding.
Yes, you start to feel it.
Yeah, I feel anxious and depressed for him, and I have to keep reading just to get lifted out of it.
Right.
Or else I like finish and I got to go to like YouTube and see something stupid to make me laugh.
Yep.
Yeah. So the next book we'll be doing is Wards of Radiance, book 2 of the Stormlight Archive. And we'll do prologue through part 1. Will be the next time we record. So yeah.
All right.
So I will say this because you guys get to start it. Every prologue for all of the Stormlight Archive books, it goes back to, so you know, the prologue of this one was Zeph killing, from Zeph's point of view, killing Galavar. So every prologue is that scene from someone else's point of view.
Ooh.
So
wait, what?
So the prologue is going to be that scene again from somebody else's point of view.
Now I'm definitely gonna wait.
Yep,
I might have to do that prologue tonight.
The prologue is okay.
Is that scene again, but from someone else's point of view? Yeah. So the first one's Zeth. So
I like it.
Yeah. And Seth did a phenomenal job of walking us through his murdering of the king.
Yeah.
The next one will probably be like, let's take a bet. Who is it going to be? With darn it, his name just left my mind. Starts with the S. Sadius. It's going to be Sadius's point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. The first 5 books are an arc, and they all start the same night. Yeah.
Oh.
And he's already released the last book's prologue, so I have not read it yet because I'm waiting for the whole book to come out. But I know I've been spoiled on whose point of view that one is. But
nice.
Hoyd's
point of view. Was Hoyd there? Was Hoyd there?
He was watching.
He's always there. Let's put it that way.
He's in the corner telling a story.
Still a story.
He's the watcher. You know.
Yeah, he's always there. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
All right, I'm dwindling fast. So
yeah, I was fading a while ago.
Ian, do you need me to send you the next book, or do you have it already?
I would love that.
Okay, sounds good. All right, that's all we have for this. So until we do this again.
Peace.
Arrivederci.
Bye.